There you go. Lines real quick.
Okie doke. Oops. You ready, Freddie?
Yep.
Okie doke.
Hello and welcome to the Warrior House podcast, where Warrior Pride lives. I'm your host, Ryan Reingart, joined by my co-host, Mike Sangster. Thanks for joining us on episode 92 of the Warrior House podcast. The thick of postseason time, Sangster. We're in it.
Yeah, we had a wild weekend out at Allendale at Grand Valley State University. Uh, I can safely say, you know what, we were going to look this up at one point, but I know for a fact that that's my first NCAA tournament game that I've live and in person attended.
Same for me. Yeah, I think I'm trying. Like I said, you and I were talking about this. I'm trying to remember back to the 2012, 2013 Wayne State women's basketball season, and if the game that I went to in Ashland was an NCAA tournament game, I really can't remember for the life of me. But
Do you
that would
think it, do you think it was in March?
that is a fantastic question. Thank you for asking. I don't know.
Okay, fair. Do you remember if Wayne State lost that game?
I think they did.
Okay, then it's most likely that you were at the uh game against Ashland. It was the Sweet 16,
Ah,
hosted at Ashland of all
that's
places. So,
yep, that sounds right.
yep.
So there you go. There's that fun fact.
Okay, so now we both have officially been to an NCAA D2 tournament game. And it's really awesome to, yeah, you could say it's a little low rent, whatever, but it's almost refreshing to, yeah, we've gone to Grand Valley before and it hasn't always been great, but it's nice to see you at least got a win on Grand Valley's court recently. And the atmosphere at a neutral court game is completely different than anything, going being an away, officially away visitor at a normal game.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
So I did want to start out with a fun fact that we've gotten the Division 1 bracket official now as of Sunday, and first time uh, competitor, Southern Illinois University Edwardsville. They punched their ticket for the first time. They moved up to Division 1, I believe, in 2008 29. I've got a fun fact immediately right off the bat.
Hit us. What do you got?
SIU Edwardsville is the last team that Wayne State men's basketball beat in an NCAA tournament all the way back in 2005.
Well,
And Wayne State has made NCAA tournaments since then. Unfortunately, they haven't advanced in them. Uh, but I just thought that was wild to see. Like, whoa, that's a team that we were competing against in reality not that long ago in the grand scheme of college athletics.
yeah, that's true. That's a really fun fact. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun bracket this year.
It
Very
is.
excited for that. Which shout out for anybody who's joining in yet. We're gonna make sure we start pushing that out a lot more to make sure we get folks filling out brackets for that. And also Bar Madness is out there. We're
Yes.
starting up voting for that on Thursday, March 20th. So it's gonna be right in line with when all of the games are happening for March Madness. So keep your eyes out on that.
Yeah, keep
So
an eye on I think we're gonna run it this way again. We'll do both voting uh on Twitter, on X, and on Instagram as well.
yeah, I would do TikTok, but I have honestly not looked into even if you can even have polling options on TikTok. It'd be sweet. But maybe we'll look at that. Maybe we'll see if we can do some TikTok
It could
stuff.
be
We'll
a
see.
thing.
We'll see what we can do.
Let's dive right into it though. We had a quite a bit of sports going on last week. A lot of them in NCAA tournaments. So the first was diving into the swim and dive teams. Both the men's and women's teams were competing. The men's team ends up finishing 12th out of 36. Julio Usunia set a 1 meter diving school record, good enough for second in the entire country. Also, Olin Charnstrom and Max Wasiniak also net top 10 finishes in their events. And overall, Wayne State has now finished in the top 18 at nationals for the 24th consecutive year, starting all the way back in 2001. And we'll exclude 2020 because nothing happened in 2020 uh, because of everything that happened in 2020. So, all in all, a really good finish for Wayne State's men's swimming and diving team. Uh, if I remember right, like the top five didn't have any GLIAC schools. I want to say that maybe Grand Valley, I believe they were the highest GLIAC school. They might have finished like sixth or seventh.
So yeah, that's what I was actually just looking at. So those of you who are listening, I know you're not looking at the standings right now, but the top five teams were far and away the top five. There was a very large separation where you got Drury, Tampa, McKendree, Grand Valley, and Indianapolis were your top fives there. Wayne
Oh,
State was very, very close to a top 10 finish, like to the tune of 9.5 points. And for the record, they scored 142 and a half points. They were very close to being a top 10 team in this one. So that was fantastic to see. It was a really good finish for a team that honestly, for a lot of the season there, they definitely looked like they were going to make it to nationals. I don't know to what point that I was going to say a possible top 10 national finish was going to happen, but boy, it was close there. So really good stuff from them. Looking over at the women's side, they were also at nationals and they finished 19th out of 39, a little bit more down in the standings here. But Ali Vasileko is a name that we've talked about for a while here. She ended up finishing sixth in the 1650-meter free, and she was able to earn first team All-American, I believe, for that event. So that's really cool to see that. She also got a top 10 finish in the 1000-meter free, along with Barbara Munoz. So a couple really good things for Allie there, and not a surprise. She's been doing this all season. She's been doing this as long as we've been covering her. So a big part of the reason why I think that team was able to actually get into the top 20, if take her uh, all American performances out of there, and I'm sure the standings kind of start to fall off pretty quick there. I don't know. I haven't really looked that closely in that, but yeah, good stuff. Really good stuff.
absolutely. Next up, we also had the women's indoor track and field team, and by that we mean Emily Gordon. She was the only Wayne State runner selected to compete at the NCAA championship weekend for indoor track and field. She ended up finishing 16th in the 800-meter run, which, respectable finish. Unfortunately, we kind of wish that if she had set her college best time from just a few weeks ago, it would have gotten her into the finals. Unfortunately, she was knocked out in the prelims part of the competition. So that kind of wraps up the indoor track and field season, and they're going to be jumping right into the outdoor part of their season, which Wayne State can mostly do because they got track around their football field.
That's true. That is very true. So yeah, good stuff from Emily. It was just a couple of weeks ago, the GVSU big meet, I think, which is one of the events that Grand Valley hosted. That's where Emily Gordon set a school record, personal best, and all that. And for the record, that would have barely gotten her into the top. What'd you say it was, saying? So the top 16. Or
Yep.
no, I'm sorry.
Top 10.
I think it was top 10, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, good
She
enough
was
to get her into the finals to run again.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. She was like 6 seconds off of that with the time this week. So still she got out there though. And
Yep,
you say you're top 16 in the country at an 800-meter run. You're doing pretty good.
better than me.
Well, yeah. So let's talk a little basketball. We started off with it that we got to get out to Allendale this last weekend. We weren't sure. Like I said, this is the first time we've ever gone to, especially like an away weekend, like planning for the weekend. We go out on a Friday, and the Wayne State women's basketball team takes on Lewis, who at the time of the last time we were like, I really thought Lewis was not a 5 seed. I mean, looking at their record, looking at how everything went, I was like, they look like a 3 seed. They should be a little bit higher. It feels like we got a tough draw. But then their strength of schedule comes in and all of these other things come in. And by the way, Wayne State won that one very comfortably, might I add, 77-57. So it was a fantastic game to be in advance for. And I know I kept saying, like, hey, let's just, keep it going. For most of the game, we were double-digit lead. And I'm like, just keep it over 10. Just keep it over 10. Let's not sweat. Let's save the sweating for tomorrow. Let's just get to tomorrow. And they did exactly that. The team did not let up. As a matter of fact, they kept the gas on and just pulled away. So really good win on Friday. And the interesting thing was we had to extend our hotel stay, which was fantastic to have to go and do that. But it was just one of those, like, we don't know how long our team is going to be playing for, so we just hope we can stay out there as long as they keep winning, and we did. Uh, but before we roll into Saturday, what do you got on this one, Sang? So I see you got a fun note here.
Well, yeah, the first thing I want to point out in this game is Wayne State's score was so huge because they just got into a dominating uh, first quarter, a 30-14 first quarter. The only quarter that Wayne State was trailing in was the second, only by 2 points. But do the math there, they were still up big at halftime, and then they just poured it on still in the second half of the game, and being able to play a bunch of players that are towards the bottom of the rotation. And I believe I made the comment to you like, hey, right now we're playing our lineup of the future. We don't have Shea Tripp, Alyssa Leister, or Ali Shagney out there with this lineup. So this is probably a lineup maybe that we'll be seeing next year, depending on transfers or if different freshmen come up. But again, Wayne State was able to just have a dominating game in this one, and they just did everything right. And when you win a game by exactly 20 points, I'm not going to complain about free throws. They were good enough everywhere else in this game to win it. And the fun fact I did have for you is that this is the first game that Wayne State has advanced in exactly 10 seasons. They last advanced in 2015 against Drury. And also, ironically, Lewis knocked them out in the second round in that 2015 NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that was a really interesting fact. So one of the things you said I wanted to pull up on really quick was the fact that Alyssa Leister was sitting. I mean, I she's been the one I've been keeping my eye on this whole time. Is like, and I said as good as she does this postseason is how far Wayne State is going to go, and I really thought that. And I mean, kind of looking at that first game, she only put up 4 points in that one. She wasn't really needed to score because the rest of the team was scoring. So she was just out there, with 2 assists, got some rebounds, a rebound in there. So she wasn't really all that necessary in that game. She did what she needed to do. And then looking over at the Grand Valley game, which we'll get to in a second, unfortunately, I think my point of how good she's going to be is how far the team goes. May not have been as true as I want. But the reason I bring all that up is I saw Coco Sylvester out there who was looking really, really good on Friday. And like, just, well, I think the primary ball handler, most of the time that she was out on the court, she may be our next point guard because Alyssa Leister found herself in that position quite a bit. And I think she was very good at that. That's where she really shined, was just finding the lane and just throwing an absolute four-seam fastball right through to get it to where it needs to go. That's where she was very good. But yeah, seeing Coco Sylvester, I wanted to shout her out because she went 5 for 5 in that game on Friday. Played 17 minutes, so a good amount of minutes there that she was able to get as I said, possibly the point guard of the future.
Yeah, and I kind of thought about it now. It just felt like at the time that, man, this is the most she's played all season. And sure enough, 17 minutes. That is the most she's played all season in a very important game against Lewis.
and showed up in it too. So
Yeah. Oh,
good,
definitely.
good stuff on there. We were very happy to see a NCAA tournament win for the Wayne State women's basketball team. And then, well,
Mm.
when you're the 4 seed and you're in an 8 seed bracket, if you win and the number 1 seed wins their first game, you get to play the number 1 seed. And that number 1 seed was Grand Valley. This is our fourth time seeing them this season. And this was the fourth time that it wasn't that fun to play them this season. And this was a little bit of a rough one thing. So I'm going to be honest with you. For starters, Grand Valley won this one by a final score of 87 to 54. So pretty pretty big win for them there to get that confidence. And they're playing right now as we speak in the Sweet 16 matchup against Ashland. I hope both teams lose, to be honest with you. But let's talk a little bit about this game because the one thing that I was sitting there watching this, saying this felt like the other 3 times that we played Grand Valley in that we played a little bit more of a clean game. I'll give the team the credit there. They cleaned up the turnovers quite a bit. They figured that out a little bit. But for some reason, Grand Valley just dominates the boards. Grand Valley just upsets the offense with full court press basically the whole game. They do this like hockey style sub, not quite like the system offense, but they sub everybody. So everybody's always fresh. And one thing I was thinking about recently is nothing against any of the Grand Valley players. I don't know how many superstars are on that team. There are just a lot of good players, really good players. I'll give them really good that play a scheme that most teams cannot match up against. So I'm just sitting there going, what beats this team? Like, what do you have to do as Wayne State to beat what Grand Valley was showing us? And it's pretty clear if we have the answer, we have not been able to make it happen because that's 4 straight games that Grand Valley's kind of they had our stole our lunch money. We'll put it that way.
Right. I don't want to burst the bubble there because it is that much worse. We're talking a losing streak that goes back years now, and maybe not as bad as it's been most recently, but my feeling watching that game is that every single one of Grand Valley's bench players, they could be starting on any other team in the GLIAC, and they would be fine. They might even be a star on any other GLIAC team, but they just have so many, and they're all excellent. I'll go on and say they're all excellent players because look at that. They
Yeah.
put up an extra 30 on Wayne State. And you look at the statistics. If you look at the percentages, Grand Valley isn't all that. We'll leave it at that. 3-point shooting percentage not exceptional, except in the fourth quarter when just they're already cruising by that point. Not a whole lot
Low
of
stress.
to make those
Yeah.
shots. Uh, Points in the paint, yeah, that's going to be 48 points in the paint, 51% field goal percentage all through the game. Not a lot of their players had to exceed 20 minutes of playing time. Only 2 of them. A lot of the others, 17, 17, 20, 18, 16, 20, 16, 10. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They can basically swap out their entire starting lineup and have a fresh one come in, and they don't even have to pick up the slack. There is no slack because their bench players are just that good that
Yeah.
they can do that.
Yeah. I mean, they do. This is a team that's been in the makings for a long time. I mean, they recruit what fits their scheme. Their scheme is very tough. I mean, they are so active. They pull all of these rebounds. They had 45 rebounds. Wayne State had 23. Grand Valley had 22 offensive rebounds. That's unheard of. Granted, the only way you get that many offensive rebounds is if you miss at least that many shots. So I guess there's one positive there, but the unfortunate part is when they don't make a shot, you say you get 3 more shots at it now because there were a number of times I counted that in one possession, Grand Valley got 3 shots up. There may have been one in there they had 4 opportunities. You,
Right.
there's no empty possessions at that point. Their shooting
Right.
percentage is going to struggle because they shot it 3 times and only made it once. But that
Right.
was the one time down the floor. Wayne State did not have the opportunity in the middle of that. So, not saying like, yeah, like I guess I should reiterate, like this is a very good team. I do think Grand Valley's probably the best team in the country. I think that they're going to be very difficult to beat. But at some point, someone's got to find the way to beat this kind of offense. I don't know what it is. I'm not a basketball coach, and I know it's not easy, but we got to figure something out. Otherwise, this is just going to be the team.
Yeah, and right now Ashland is playing Grand Valley in the Sweet 16 as we speak. It is just the beginning of the third quarter. Grand Valley is up 29-23. So Ashland is hanging in there and they're doing it by 3-point shooting. Grand Valley has been 0 for 4 at the 3-point line. The problem is that if you don't want Grand Valley to win, which I don't, Ashland is also 2 for 13. So defensive battle between these two teams right now. And I mean, at this point, first team to 50 is going to win it, I think. So
Yeah. So
maybe that's how you stop it. You just got to commit to defense and have the players to be able to do it. And if you can run that same full court press that Grand Valley does, then maybe that's how you stop it. But on top of that, then you got to figure out your shooting too, which right now Ashland really isn't, but
right.
they're doing it to Grand Valley.
Yep, exactly. So one last thing on this one. So this was the last that we saw of Alyssa Leister, Shea Tripp, and
Ali Shaggy.
Ali Shagney. Thank you. The reason I mentioned Alyssa Leister was the leading scorer in this one. She shot 2 for 3 from the 3-point line, 4 for 5 from the field. Yeah, there were 4 turnovers in there, but I mean, again, when you look at the way that Grand Valley plays defense and how much they press and how much they try to get you uncomfortable, 16 turnovers, that's basically Wayne State's season average right there. And you did it against probably the best defensive team in the country. So I'm giving thumbs up there. I wanted to win this game. I absolutely wanted to
Right.
sit in Allendale and just listen to the Lakers cry tears of sadness, and we just have a good time and party in Grand Rapids, not Allendale. But so that's the wrap up on basketball there, Sangster. That's all we're going to talk about that one. Whatever happens here on out in the D2 tournament, I hope everybody has fun that's part of it, and I hope everyone stays healthy. I'll say that. That's the right thing to say. So really quick on baseball and softball, because they will be taking center court here pretty soon. I want to kind of rip through them really quick, but we will be talking about them more in the coming weeks, I promise. Baseball, they concluded the Russ Matt Invitational, and on Wednesday, March 12th, they took on Minnesota State Mankato, and Minnesota State Mankato won that one 6-1. As a friendly reminder, Minnesota State is ranked number 18 in the country, so that is a pretty big opponent the Wayne State team was going against. And then between Friday and Saturday, Wayne State had 2 doubleheaders against Minnesota Duluth, and Wayne State was able to go 3-1 in that series, a 7-5 win, a 10-2 win, a 2-7 loss, and a 3-1 win. So, I mean, you kind of look at it, they were out of town for this whole last week of games and were able to go 3-2 there. So, for a team that's sitting right at 500, I think they're trying to figure some things out right now. I mean, last season was really a high season for the baseball team, and the season before that. These last two were pretty good. So they're definitely trying to figure out who's going to do what, who are we looking to do whatever it is that coach is asking for, who's going to be that player to fit that. I think that's where they're at, as somebody who has not watched a full Wayne State baseball game yet, because this is not a 500 team. They have not been a 500 team in as long as I can remember.
Right. Wayne State has had a tradition of excellence in baseball. And if you look at it this way, think of it as series wins that we think of in MLB. Wayne State came out of this one, they got an away series win uh, against the Minnesota Duluth team. So good stuff going into their next slate of games, and it's going to be just ramping up from here on out. And in softball, we also had the NTC spring games conclude over the past week. First on Wednesday, March 12th, Wayne State had a 3-0 win against Winona State, a 4-7 loss against Shepherd. On Friday, they had a shutout loss against Hillsdale, following it up though with a 5-1 win over Slippery Rock. And finally on Saturday, March 15th, Wayne State has their own shutout, a 9-12 win over St. Michael's, and unfortunately following it out, getting shut out 0-12 against Emporia State. And the last note on this one, coming out of this slate of games, is that Sydney Long ends up as the GLIAC softball pitcher of the week.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one. I don't know which games she pitched, but I mean, if you're going to get GLIAC softball, My guess is a couple of those goose eggs in there that our team was able to put up against some of these other teams. Maybe she pitched in Winona State and St. Michael's. I don't know for sure,
Right.
but really good stuff for her. That's fantastic to see that some of our players. And we talked about the very first week of softball season. One of the freshmen for the Wayne State softball team was able to get GLIAC Player of the Week. So
Yep.
things are definitely looking up for this team. This is a team that's trending up. I think there's no reason for me to think that baseball is not also trending at least horizontal. I mean, they may have a hiccup early in the season, but again, that's a team that has a history of doing very well. So we will be following them for the rest of the season, but especially over these last couple of weeks as some of these other sports kind of fall off, we can get a little bit more time to talk about the Diamonds. Also, the women's tennis team, they had their first GLIAC match of the season against Saginaw Valley. This one was on Saturday, and Wayne State won 6-1. Wayne State was able to get the double points in this one and most of the single events. In fact, Saginaw Valley, the only win that they got in this whole match was a singles win in the third set. So we were basically that close to sweeping a GLIAC opponent. And yeah, I think Sangster, you and I think we were out in Allendale and we saw this one, and I made a point that this is why you front load the schedule with top ranked opponents, because then you come back to the teams that you need to handle within your conference and you just arm wrestle them and win in a quarter of a second. So that's cool to see.
Yep. Same thing we say all year. Get the doubles point. Do your business at the singles. Wayne State did exactly that. They get the win over Saginaw Valley. In the swing of golf now, we've got the men's golf team. They're at Pawleys Island Beach Bash in South Carolina on Wednesday, March 12th through Thursday the 13th. It was hosted by Ohio Dominican, and Wayne State they went out there and they won the whole thing. Wayne State led after round one. They didn't look back. Max Leppelmeyer and Josh DiCarlo led the way. They finished in the top three uh, of the individual players. Also worth noting is that Wayne State beat two like top 15 at definitely top 25 teams in Division Two to win this tournament. So excellent stuff from them over the past week.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, we'll talk about it a little bit in the second half. I don't think Wayne State's quite in the top 25 yet, but based on what you just said, they make a heck of an argument to get there. So especially with some of the individuals that you have that you can rely on them to go out and put up good performances and just help the team that much to where everybody else just go out there and play your game. Do coach would never say this, but like go out there and do all right, and we're going to be good. So good for them. Women's golf, we don't have a ton of an update on right now. They're currently in South Carolina, Beaufort. One day I'll learn how to say that. And that's the Oldfield Intercollegiate Tournament. And at the close of day one, which consisted of two rounds, Wayne State is currently 12th out of 15 teams. They're a bit of a ways behind, some of the teams that are ahead of them. So a little bit of separation there. At this point, you're kind of looking up thinking, let's try to salvage a top 10. Two notes on this one. We have a ton of top 40 teams, and realistically, most of those are top 20 teams in the country. So this is absolutely a loaded field. They have to be playing at a difficult course. And the other thing is we've had a lot of turnover on this team. I mean, we just said Meister Hezri transferred to Akron. I was looking up some of her stats recently. I believe, what'd you say? Becca Vestman was also one that we lost as well. So we have a lot of new faces on this team that we're relying on because
Yep.
these are teams up. Yeah, go ahead.
And Logan Potts too. Yeah. So
And
a
Logan
bunch of
Potts.
senior turnover here.
Yeah, so you're looking to a lot of new names, probably some freshmen in there to go out there and really carry it on. Same with baseball. When you have a bunch of turnover, you're going to have a little hiccups early on as people start to get comfortable in the swing of things, and you lose some of those players used to rely on. Not many teams out there in any sport, in any college for that matter, can just turn it on and just say, yeah, we recruited and we replaced and we're doing just as good, if not better. There's only so much of that. So
Yep.
yeah, feeling good about it though. Good stuff from the men's golf team, the women's golf team. We'll keep following them. Hopefully they can continue growing throughout the season. And with that, saying so that's all we had over the last week. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have quite a few sports to talk about still. So we will be right back.
A lot of sports, but not a lot of events.
Mm-mm.
That's kind of good.
Yeah. No, there's a like not this weekend. next weekend. Track and field like loads up the schedule,
Yep.
but it's because they're split between three events. So, but like that's just one
Right.
sport. But yeah, definitely it slows down at some point. I don't know when it is, but it will slow down at some point.
Well, we'll lose fencing after. Here's your sneak peek, YouTube. We'll lose fencing after this week. Uh, and then yeah, it's just golf, softball, baseball, and tennis.
In tennis, yeah.
Oh, and track and field and volleyball.
It's spring
We're losing
volleyball.
fencing. Yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, at some point there's a spring football game. So
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
yeah, agreed. Who's going to be calling offense?
They haven't announced that yet, not as of a couple days ago when I last looked.
Hmm.
That they have Roscoe. So Roscoe has been the run game coordinator, uh, at least for the past year or so. And then the new wide receivers that coach they hired
Mm.
out of Davenport, that was a Wayne State alum. He was the passing game coordinator at Davenport, and his bio says that he was hired in the same capacity here, but he's not listed as that on the drop down list.
Right.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see.
Makes you almost think there's a battle. Like, is it going to be Jimmy or
Battle,
Roscoe? Who's going to step up?
or is it going to be Wheatley?
Or is it going to be Wheatley? That could be. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that wouldn't completely shock me.
I mean, if you're, we've said, I know I said it after all the turnover that man, you've only got a season, maybe two, to make it work. And well, if you're
Yeah.
gonna make it work, do it yourself sometimes.
Well, yeah, and you can't at you can't come out there and say, well, we had a lot of turnover on the staff. Like you can't say that now because you could have controlled that.
You did that.
Right.
We didn't
So
return a lot of production,
yeah. So
but
yeah,
that is
we'll
for
see.
another day.
Yeah.
So I think we're good on golf, softball, right?
Yep.
Oh shoot. What- I'm not too worried about record for Florida Southern. What's Northwood's record? Because that's kind of
I was just looking it up if you want to take baseball.
okay. Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Ooh.
They are that team.
I'll grab the women's tennis for whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oakland is not top 75. So their ranking does not matter.
Results in file. Oh, they are 3-7.
Not me looking up TIFF and stuff, thinking, man, they made a bad cup of coffee. Cool. Alrighty.
Let's go.
And we're back. So the schedule lightens up a little bit. There's still a number of sports, but uh, only a couple events per sport. So there's a lot to talk about here. Those of you who are listening on YouTube Live, you heard the secret that we just shared. So congratulations to all of you. So with that, we'll start out with women's golf. Again, we're in the middle of recording on Monday, March 17th, and they're in the middle of competition. They still have one more round to go on Tuesday, March 18th, and they will finish out there. At this point, like I mentioned in the first half, we're hoping for a top 10 finish from them. It's going to require a very good round of golf, but I think they can do it. And that's what we got on them. The men's golf team, first of all, the Golf Coaches Association of America currently has Wayne State at number 26 in the country. We just mentioned in the first half of this episode that in the Pawleys Island Beach Bash, their most recent tournament, they took down a number of top 25 teams. So likely that they will be creeping into the top 25 at this point, but we will wait for the next ratings to come out. But just good to know kind of where they're at. So on March 24th and 25th, so is that early next week. So they are heading down to Richmond, Kentucky for the Finley Spring Invite. And apparently saying, so this is a loaded field.
It is incredibly loaded. Not only, of teams that Wayne State's going to be facing, some GLIAC opponents, but teams from all over the Midwest. Very important for regional seeding. So obviously you've got the University of Findlay, but then also coming to this competition are Lake Superior State University, Hillsdale College, Shorter University, Thomas More University, Maryville University of St. Louis, rolls right off the tongue. Not the only St. Louis school coming down. The University of Missouri St. Louis will also be there. Missouri University of Science and Tech, Missouri S&T, Ohio Dominican, Drury, Saginaw Valley, Walsh, Tiffin, Northwood, McKendree, Wayne State, Ashland, and Kentucky Wesleyan College. That's a huge field.
That's everybody. That's every school. I think you named every D2 school just now.
Pretty
And
much
they're all going to be there.
all in
So,
Kentucky.
yep, sounds great. So, yeah, hopefully hopefully this is a good tournament. I mean, this is another one of those, a good finish from Wayne State. At this point, it kind of feels like make sure we can like land who's going to be our third golfer. Because I mean, if things continue on, Max Leppelmeyer and Josh DeCarlo definitely seem like the top two that we can look to. Get that third one in there. I know one of the Wayne State men's golfers last week in their tournament was, I want to say, top 20 individual. I don't remember exactly, but continue to develop that consistency and see if he's the one who can really help kind of stabilize the team and make sure it's not just so top heavy that we have a couple players that we can look to. So good luck to both of our golf teams. The softball team is also going to be in action. They are currently at an overall record of 10 and 11, 0-0, so a little bit below that 500 record, but that's kind of like that's my target right now. Above that, I'm feeling good. Below that, I'm not feeling good, and that's simply based on these last couple of seasons for the team. So hopefully they continue on the up and up. But they take on Northwood on Wednesday, March 19th. This is a home doubleheader, by the way. So this is happening in Detroit. Northwood is 11-7 overall. They are 2-0 in their conference, which is no longer the GLIAC. They're in the GMAC because they left the GLIAC to go be with GMAC schools, and that's what they did. So really good opportunity here. This is if I'm not mistaken, Sangster, is this the first softball home games? Because I think there were supposed to be some scheduled ones, and they got moved
Yeah,
down to Finley.
I think you're right that there were some scheduled and that they didn't happen. I don't think that weather is going to be a factor in this one. Right now, Wednesday is going to look gorgeous.
So yeah, that'll be cool. I mean, really good opportunity there. You get to take on a team that's a little bit over 500, and you get the comfort of your own home. So good luck, softball. Go out there, go get 2 wins, and let's keep building on the season.
Absolutely. And baseball, they get to stay in the comfort, not necessarily of home, but they get to stay in Florida. Right now, baseball is coming in just under 500 at 9-10. Haven't started GLIAC play yet, and they have a weekend 4-game series in Lakeland City. I don't think it's the same baseball stadium, same city the Tigers do spring training at, against number 7 Florida Southern. It's going to be a big ask for Wayne State because Florida Southern comes in with a record of 18-5. They've already started conference play because they can do that in Florida. They're 7-2 in their conference. So, and be a great weekend to see our baseball team heat up, get at least a series split with Florida Southern top 10 team. That'd be that would be a way to kick off your season now that we're getting closer and closer to opening day in Detroit.
Yep, exactly. I was thinking the same thing. If you go down there and split with this team in, I assume their home stadium, that's going to be pretty good. So hoping for that. I'll definitely be following along a bit with them as we get closer to the weekend. The men's fencing team, actually both fencing teams, both start out with men's fencing, just so we can keep the names straight. March 20th to 21st, the men's fencing NCAA championships are happening in University Park, Pennsylvania. Mahmoud El Sayed, Ethan Lung, and Zayad Nofal are heading out there to represent the Wayne State men's fencing team. So 3 names that have been doing very well so far this season, and hopefully they can continue on. I just also saw a thing now that I realized we missed one thing in the recap, Sangster, which was
What did we miss?
uh, I, I believe Mahmoud Al Sayed was out in Hungary this
Oh,
last
wow.
weekend for the West End Epi Grand Prix. This was in Budapest, Hungary, and he went 6-0 in the pools there. And out of 391 competitors, 391, he finished 35th. So very comfortably in the top 10%
Yeah.
of basically a class that was pretty close to my high school graduating class. So, I mean, that's pretty cool to see when you're talking about an international event there. So he will be around for NCAA championships this coming weekend, fresh off of a ton of warm up and whatever his reasoning for wanting to go to that one was. I'm sure it's going to bode well. Another one of those, go face the best in the world and then come on back and face some NCAA athletes. So that's
Yeah.
what's going on the men's fencing side. And then briefly on the women's fencing side, we have March 22nd to 23rd. So just after, they're also in University Park, Pennsylvania. Rika Galfalvi and Ludovica Mancini are heading out to represent the Wayne State women's fencing team. So plenty of representation. They're going to be happening over in Pennsylvania for the Warriors.
Yeah. Hoping for some good results out at Happy Valley. On the tennis side of things, we've got men's tennis and women's tennis both competing in the same weekend. Kind of a shocker here. But men's tennis has started out. They've had a slew of games early on in their season. They're currently 8-4. They have not started GLIAC play yet. Right now, they're ranked number 13 in Division Two by the Intercollegiate Tennis Association, and they get to play a game at home in the Duchesne, maybe outside. We don't know yet. Against Tiffin, there looks like they're receiving votes right now. Going to be at 1 o'clock, and Tiffin comes in with a record of 8-7, and they also have not started GMAC play yet.
Yeah, definitely one of those. Like the men's tennis team go out and win this one.
Yeah.
Just by the way they've been playing so far this season, they should comfortably be able to get this one. And funny enough, I actually saw the Wayne State Athletics socials post an article that they wrote about Cedric Grant and
Mhm.
him wanted to, because I believe this is his he's a senior, isn't he? Is he
Yes.
not?
Yep.
Okay, so this is his last run. That's what it was. Yeah, it was he's preparing, the team for the last run, and this is he's the captain of the team. It's pretty clear. So, hoping they can continue on. Definitely handle your business at home against a team that's receiving votes. Now, let's not take anything away from Tiffin, but we're pushing for top 10. That's where we're at right now. The
Exactly.
women's tennis team, as you mentioned, is also home. Currently, the women's tennis team is 3-3 overall. They are 1-0 in the conference because we beat Saginaw Valley because we were simply better than Saginaw Valley. The women's tennis team is currently ranked 32 in the country by the ITA. The ITA also, so what they do is they rank teams as a whole. They rank single tennis players collectively, but then they also rank doubles partners. And right now, the ITA has two of our doubles teams ranked pretty much in the top 10. And that is impressive because we continue to reiterate the importance of that doubles point to be able to start off, because it's usually the first event in a tennis meet, start out with that win, get your point, and then just say, look, all we got to go out there and do is split. We got to get 3 wins out there. Again, the tennis coaches are not saying this, but we're saying this because we're not coaches. If you go out there and win 3, and even if the other team wins 3 of those single events, you still win and you get the overall victory for that one. So it's very, very important. Also, again, just because it happens to be that first event. So really cool to see that the team is doing very well. And I kind of figured that was the case because it definitely seems like on the single side of things, we've been going up against very tough teams so far this season, but we've definitely been struggling a little bit. So hoping that can get kind of shaked out a little bit and we can start to build some confidence. And hopefully that starts on March 23rd at home against Oakland. Oakland's currently 3-7. I tried to look up where they're ranked by the ITA. They're not. So this is an 11 a.m. home meet for the Wayne State women's tennis team.
Yeah, and the last point I just wanted to have on there is that the two doubles teams that are ranked right now are the teams of Malik Arafat and Martina Spikovska, and then Dia Gorgidze and Anias Rusin as well. And both
Yep,
of
names
them
that have been
are,
around.
yeah, both of them are 8-2 in their record playing against other teams right now. Looking like they're averaging Malik and Martina average about 29 points per match, and then Dea and Anna is average about 26. So yeah, they're right up there. Uh, you do have to look at the top of the field, and oh boy, yeah, there's a lot up there. But
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff from Wayne State women's tennis. Again, they didn't have a whole lot of non-conference opponents to face, but they get the rest of their season started now. And finally, another season that is starting, sort of. We've got a spring season for volleyball starting up, not really counting for anything, but good scrimmages and practice over the spring, just to be able to say, hey, we got in the gym, we were able to do something going into fall when everything starts counting. So on Saturday, they have a 2 o'clock home match against Lawrence Tech at the Mathi.
Yeah, this definitely seems like one of those, like, as some of the seniors have gone, don't know the transfer situation. It just definitely seems like a very good opportunity to figure out who are going to be those next ones up. Like, hey, if you're still with the team, if you were a freshman going into your sophomore year, maybe you're a junior going into your senior year, who's going to like cement themselves and say, like, I want more time, I deserve more time. Here's a great opportunity to do that. A low stress environment. I don't think a loss really does anything here, but you definitely want to go out and make sure you're kind of showcasing what you're able to do, how well you're able to be with the team, and set yourself up as an individual player, as a team as a whole, for a very good fall season. So that's a really cool one to see there. So yeah, that's what we
And that
got.
wraps up this week.
That wraps it up, Sangster. So we're out of basketball. Next time we talk, we're going to talk fencing, and then we'll be out of fencing. And
We'll be
at that
talking.
point,
We're not quite done with basketball. We've got a little bit of Warrior House Bar Madness and our Warrior House bracket pool coming up.
that is true. So yeah, really after next week, we're talking baseball, softball, tennis. Those are going to be the really, really big sports
Yep.
that we're going to be talking about. So excited to dive a little bit more into those and get a little bit more stats. I know we've been breezing over from a bit, but those days are about done because they are going to be our attention. So with that, we appreciate everybody listening in on episode 92 of the Warrior House Podcast.
And remember, it's always a great day to be a Wayne State Warrior.